Excavation Profits Podcast by Excavation Marketing Pros. Interviews with successful excavation and septic business owners, revealing how they market and grow their business in today's economy. Hear directly from the most successful leaders in your business and discover what they're doing to keep their phone ringing, equipment running, and businesses booming. Now your host, Scott Andreasen.
Well, hey guys, welcome to the Excavation Profits Podcast. I'm your host, Scott, and today we have very special guests. We have Rosebrook Land Home with the Eso brothers, Jack over here, and then Zach to my right. How you guys doing?
Fantastic, better than that shirt here.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So you notice, for those listening, you won't be able to tell, but if you're watching the podcast, I'm actually at their new showroom, which is really exciting. I'm going to show you guys more footage of that later. So let's go ahead and dive right in, guys. Tell me a little bit, tell everyone about, your story, how you got started in the business, and so on.
Okay. Well, I'm originally from New York. I've been here since 2016. When I was in New York, I was doing heavy civil construction. Moved here, got hooked up with the company building highways, and worked for them about 2 years, and then I decided I want to do something on my own. So just tightened my bootstraps and went and got a skid steer and started knocking on doors and a little bit of marketing, and here we are today, almost 6 years later.
Awesome. Okay, so 2016 is when you started.
Yeah.
And was that just like knocking on doors to get business, or?
So I think I do what maybe a lot of people do when they first start getting a business. Good old Angie's List.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
So, running out there and just competing with 100 other bids from other people that were on Angie's List. But that's kind of what got us started, because I was new to the area and I don't have a big following out here or family out here. So I had to do it from the ground up. I had no connections.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about where you're at now and kind of the progression. Like, what's the size of the company, your crews, your equipment? Can you kind of go over some of that?
Yeah, I guess, for progression, I went out and bought a Bobcat skid steer. That's what I started out with. And then I was renting excavators or compactors when I needed them. And now, fast forward now, we got multiple skid steers, excavators from 12,000 pounds up to 60,000 pounds. We got, triaxle dump trucks, GPS bulldozers. So we've come a long way, I think, in a short period of time, but we've worked hard at it.
Very nice. So what does the company look like in terms of number of crews and revenue?
We typically run like 2 crews. We have 7 guys in the field. And last year this year's rounding out. We're going to be close to the 2.5 million range. But we've been hitting a lot of commercial work up hard, and we just signed $4 million worth of work this month.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Oh, yeah.
Now, what percentage of your business is like commercial versus working with homeowners? Can you talk about like how that progressed from starting out to now?
Yeah. So in the beginning, it was 100% residential. Homeowners, smaller jobs. Then as our reputation grew and our crew grew and our confidence did, we started doing bigger projects, and then I had a company reach out to us to build some car washes and a gas station and stuff. So we kind of grinded the pencil and bid those jobs the best that we could, and we landed them, and luckily we did good on them. And now we have an estimation team that bids commercial projects for us only.
Okay, so you guys have shifted then from residential to more like strictly commercial at this point?
No, I don't think. No, we do both. Like
Yeah.
Me personally, I enjoy residential. I like the relationship we have with the customers. Something that they're going to enjoy and not just pushed off to corporate or stuff. But there is, there's money to be made in the commercial world because those jobs are larger. Me being a typical guy, I like big toys and commercial jobs. You need bigger stuff like that. So, that's we enjoy that, and we like the challenge of doing those larger projects and then also, competing with the other companies around here to win those jobs.
Okay, so it's a mix of commercial, residential. We're going to get into the new business that you guys are doing a little bit, but so the excavation side of things, you're doing excavation, septic. What are your other core services that you guys are offering?
Mainly site development services, I would say. We have our unlimited GC license, so we can, do a project of any size, and we're not, constricted to a cost limit on the project. We have our utility license, and we're a Class 4 septic license. We also have a plumbing license too, to try to bring in a, turnkey process for homeowners that, when we do foundations for, they don't have to get a plumber to do all the under slab plumbing or, hook up the plumbing from the house to the septic system. We kind of can do all that for them.
Full site prep then.
Yeah, we kind of say like we'll do everything to get you to the point where you can start putting wood on the foundation.
Nice. Okay.
And if I could just backtrack for a second, I feel like a lot of times with commercial projects, it depends what it is. If it's not a corporate building, if it's like we just built a Longhorn in Lenore, and a lot of times that brings a lot of residential work because people come there, they're like, who built this? And they ask, do you do residential work as well? And we absolutely do.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Zach, when did you, because you came down here alone, right? At first, and then you kind of helped build the business up.
Yeah.
And you're working in the business, and then is there one other brother working in the business too?
I was gonna say, that's my brother Mike. He's younger than me. He's the middle. Zach is the youngest, and Mike pretty much takes care of like everything in the field. Like a lot of success in this company has come from him being a part of it as well.
Okay, cool. And so, at what point did you step in, Zach? Like, how did that work? Where you got involved with the business?
So about 2 years ago, I contacted Jack and I was like, hey, how's the company going? He said, it's fantastic. He's like, we can always use an extra set of hands and he would love to have me. So he actually put me on the crew. I was out in the field stacking concrete with everyone else with our hand-carved retaining walls. I loved it. And he asked me, hey, would you like to shift in gears and go into a little more of a networking and social media role? So that's where I kind of landed, and I love it. I love every part of it. I love being in the office. I love being able to see my brothers prosper and have a product that we can supply that I could be proud of, and the people that are doing it I could be proud of as well.
Very nice. All right, so you're handling social media, like kind of marketing strategy, would you say?
Correct. So any networking events in public, we are tied together with the local chambers, with the Home Builders Association, and it's going great.
Now we're shooting this right around, it's actually Halloween today, so happy Halloween, everyone. You guys are doing a community event today, later on, or so. Can you tell everyone about that? Yeah,
it's called the Morganton Spooktacular. So we're one of the sponsors of that event, and expected to have like 6,000 people, kids dressed up in costumes, just safe environment for them to get candy at all the other local businesses, here in town, because our office is right here on Main Street in Morganton.
Oh yeah.
So we get a lot of exposure. We like to be part of the community, like Zach was saying, part of the chambers. We recently sponsored a golf tournament. Because we want to be part of the community, and this is one of the ways I think that we're doing that this year.
It's hard to network if you're not approachable, and being a face in the public to where they can say by name, hey, I know Jack, hey, I know Zach, and even our third brother Mike. It makes a very comfortable space for anyone to approach us about any project and just talk about it.
That's nice. So is this like a trunk or treat? The little did they do that at these?
Yeah.
So it's going to be 15 businesses have the opportunity. Each gets a parking spot in the chamber parking lot to set up a tent. Anything they want that fits in a parking spot, you could do what you need to.
Okay.
And we're going to have a table, a tent, the whole nine.
That'll be fun. That's going to be a great event for you guys. Okay. So you started out the business 2016. You built it up, excavation, site prep. Now, when did your other brother, Michael, you said?
Yeah.
When did he start getting involved?
He started to get involved in about the end of 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
2019, and then you were over in New York.
I was lonely. All my family came down here to work.
Okay. So site development's going well, and then how did things shift that now you've kind of branched off with a new business aside from the site prep.
Yeah. So site development, dirt work, big machines, loud noises. We make controlled messes and then fix them. So we started a company doing hardscapes and water features. I've always enjoyed, fish, my whole life. Always had a fish tank and stuff like that. And water features I've always enjoyed. Who doesn't like them? And there was kind of like a void around here because no one does that type of thing. So we kind of, about a year ago, we started Morganton Ponds and Hardscapes, and we call ourselves a premier, pond and water feature company. And that's one of the main reasons why we built this showroom. But that's been going, really well too. And it's kind of the opposite spectrum, I guess, of site development, more of, aesthetics.
Yeah, it is, but
it's more of a luxury item too.
It picks up a big gray area where people are like, all right, now what's next for our property? And instead of being like, well, that's up to you, we can kind of guide them in a way where it's like, how about a pond? Or maybe have you thought of a pool over there? And things like that, and be a straight distributor of everything you would need to keep that going.
Finish a project.
Correct.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of synergy there. You're already helping out with the site prep, and then you can offer them this
on the back end.
Love it. Okay, so what are some of the learning lessons as you guys have built up this business from scratch to where it is now, a multi-seven-figure company that you can share?
A lot of them are learn as you go, financial costly mistakes, that sometimes you just have to fall on the sword and fix them, whether it be, making a mistake when backfilling a foundation and something happens to it and you got to get it fixed, or, hitting the utility line and having to pay for that, or, at the beginning, not having great communication with your client up front. So then expectations were, cloudy, and then at the end of the project, they thought they were going to get something that, wasn't originally talked about or, ironed out at the beginning, and then you just trying to, do the right thing by the customer and keep a good name for yourself. You're out there doing, what they ask or what they expected that you didn't, lay out for them. So that's something I learned too, is like communication, really, solid contract, a good game plan, and then expectations. Make sure your expectations with your client, are out in the front at the beginning, so everyone knows what they're getting and what the job's gonna look like at the end. Because I'm sure you talk to a lot of other site development people. You go into a land clearing job. What is that going to look like when you leave? Are we just tearing the trees out and the stumps and leaving it really rough? Are we taking, grubbing and getting the roots out? Are we getting it seed ready? There's like different stages of clearing where people are going to have different ideas of what that actually means. So we kind of have like a stage system now of our clearing projects of like, where do you want this when we leave?
Full transparency when you're setting the expectation goes a long way, especially in the mountains. You don't know if there's going to be a peak that you don't see when you're digging through the dirt. You may get 2 feet into the ground and you hit a rock that's ginormous. So setting that expectation is a big part of it.
So how do you manage your projects? Can you kind of go into software you may use and maybe how you structure meetings with the team and kind of go over some of that?
Yeah, meetings. So we have a team meeting every Monday with everybody. That's at our shop. Talk about the week before, expectations of the week coming up, wins of the week, losses of the week, things we can improve on, safety. That's kind of like how the week starts. All of our jobs and scheduling and stuff, that's in a software called JobTread.
Yep.
That I really recommend that to anybody. That has been a really, really key part of how we do things, how we stay organized, how we communicate with our clients. Everything is in that system right there.
I've heard a lot of good things about that one. Now, did you experiment with other ones before JobTread? Like there's Service Titan, there's Jobber, there's House Call Pro.
I pretty much start off with QuickBooks like most people do. Because we still use QuickBooks, for our accounting and stuff like that. JobTread integrates with it. But I guess something that really helped me too, because I'm like the first entrepreneur, business owner in my family.
Mm-hmm.
I actually got hooked up with this coaching group, their contractor coaching group called the Contractor Fight.
Yep, I had Tom Reber as a guest once,
Oh, you
and
did?
I went to his out there in Utah, his event that he had.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so that's you know, I don't know, corny or whatever, but I contribute a lot of my success to that group. And now I'm still in that group, you know, kind of in a higher level training right now, you know, called War Room. Actually going to Virginia next week. We have an event out there kind of training, you know, band of brothers getting together and talking about business and how we can get better and stuff like that. So, but that's where I found out JobTread was from that group.
Very nice. Yeah, so a couple good tips in there. You're using software for your business, JobTread. You're involved in business coaching.
Yeah.
What about, like, how has your marketing progressed from the days of starting out to where it is now? I see you guys are very active on Facebook. Can you talk a little bit about what you do there and your strategy and so on?
Yeah, at the beginning, I you know, didn't know what I was doing at all. Like I said, marketing, there was none. I was just trying to tell everyone I knew, you know, that I was starting a company and, you know, just answering those Angie leads, phone calls every time they came. But like I never had a Facebook or any kind of social media until I had a company. I was like, you know what, that's a necessity. So now I have it. You know, sometimes I now scroll too much more than I should, but but yeah, it's gone from, you know, absolutely nothing to just posting on ourselves on local community pages on Facebook to now we actually hire a videographer to come out and do professional, you know, videos and stuff for us that he posts on our social media. And then, you know, Zach goes out to the job sites, he'll shoot videos and photos and he'll put, you know, stories up for us and social media and just trying to keep engaged.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that brand awareness for us, that's really what we're working on.
A day in a life.
Yeah, no, I've seen your videos. The page looks great. Now, are you guys also on YouTube too?
Yeah, we have some YouTube videos. That's something that we're going to really try to do more of moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Get some longer videos.
You're active on social. You're doing community events,
Yeah.
like the Spooktacular. You've got a Google business profile.
Yep.
Are you guys running ads too?
Right now, no, we're not running any ads.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to run like some Facebook ads and stuff, but
Mhm.
for whatever reason, I feel like none of them ever worked. So I'm not sure why, dealing with the wrong people or whatnot, or maybe the message wasn't hitting, I'm not sure, but that has not worked for me personally.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What about, like, your existing customers? Are you doing any kind of like referral programs or anything like that?
Oh, with our customers?
Yeah.
That's something that we've been thinking about implementing here soon. We've actually talked about that like a couple of weeks ago, is doing that. We haven't really done any, you know, like referral programs. You know, do you mean like something like we pay our past clients if they refer or something like that? Or what do you mean by that exactly?
Well, that would be like, you know, your customer database over the years. There's got to be
Oh yeah, we have a ton of
hundreds reaching out to them. Hey, you know, do you know of anyone that needs help with site prep or?
Yes, Zach does that. We call that a UIT, an unexpected intentional touch. Hey,
Mhm.
Mrs. Jones, I was thinking about you today. Or hey, I was, you know, passed by your street. How's your project going? You know, do you know anyone else that might need our help if you don't?
We just did a
Yeah.
retaining wall that reminded us of yours. How's yours settling into your property? Is there any other features that you'd like to add, or would you like to discuss anything further?
Like I said, just trying to build a relationship, be personable with our clients instead of, hey, it's been 6 months. You have anything else for us to do?
Yeah.
No, that's good. So is that a manual thing? Are you guys automating that?
Everything's automated. Everything's personalized straight to the people.
Through JobTread.
Yeah,
mostly.
JobTread helps a lot, but it's all personal. Everything is typed by hand. It's not just copy and paste. It's actually reaching out and saying, hey,
Very nice.
so-and-so.
Very cool. Okay, so let's talk a little bit, shift gears to the new business, which is Morganton Ponds and Hardscapes, right?
Correct.
Kind of walk us through what's going on there.
So been around for about a year. We just want to give, I guess, another shout out, I guess, if I could, to who built our website, Contractor Growth Network out of Charlotte.
Okay.
Logan Schinholzer. They did a really good job building us a website. So we're proud of it. Go check it out, morgantonponds.com. But it's a full service pond and hardscape company. So from pond construction, repair, expansion, maintenance, we do all of that from, when dealing with ponds or water features, and also with the hardscapes, around it, pavers, retaining walls, outdoor kitchens, fire pits, fireplaces. Here at the showroom, we sell live fish, live plants. So kind of pretty much a one-stop shop. We're also a retailer for all aquascape products.
Mm-hmm.
They're the biggest name in the pond world. So if need anything, we have it here.
Very cool. Anything else you want to add to that?
It has been a blessing being able to add that, because like I said, if I circle back with the whole being able to add to projects and properties, it creates an area to where we really don't have to say no on basically anything besides framing the house. And most people already have their house picked out, how they want to build it, so they just need the property set up correctly. And a lot of people don't even think about possibly adding a water feature because they have a creek or this and that. And we could actually expand so much on people's properties, and it's opened a whole door for us. It is awesome.
Now people aren't calling will you mow my lawn, are they? Or does that happen?
I say people are like, oh, you're a landscaper? I'm like, don't call me a landscaper. Yeah. So we haven't had any of those calls.
No.
What is some advice that you would give to, let's say, contractors at different levels? Let's first start off with the guys starting out. What would you tell them?
I would tell them to absolutely, get uncomfortable. Get out of your shell, talk to everyone that you possibly can. If you're at Lowe's and, you see a contractor there, stop, introduce yourself, no matter what you're doing, you need to find those influencers that, are working with the people that you want to work with or no. Let's go back to the landscaper. So people that are landscaping and mowing lawns and taking care of property, we want to know those people, because those people are taking care of the people's houses that we want to get in front of. So, just making good relationships with them and trying to just be reciprocal with, of that relationship. If they help you, maybe you can, help them a little bit. And just, you gotta be fearless, and you gotta be hungry as an entrepreneur. If you're not willing to take risks and, stay up late at night at the very beginning, and just almost, sacrifice everything at the beginning, then, you're not going to make it.
There's no change without change. So if you're not willing to take that extra step and, like he said, come out of your shell a little bit, you're really not going to expand. You're not going to go anywhere. Even in your personal life, if you say hello to the right person, it can move mountains. So as somebody who works for a business, if you say hello to them and it trickles down, oh, they're with Rosebrook or they're with Morganton Ponds, it really just creates a light for that company to where people could walk in that door and talk to us.
Yeah. That's a great mindset. Now, after you broke the $500,000 mark, the next milestone is to get the business up to 7 figures. What are some learning lessons, things that you could share about that phase of growth?
Well, again, it's kind of, at first it's, building relationships, doing quality work, because a lot of times, your work will, stand out for itself, speak for itself, I should say. And if you don't do a good job, for a customer, they're never going to refer you. Even if someone comes over there, they're not going to like it. Like, oh, who did that? It looks like crap. And then keep your promises. That's a big thing. And then, to be able to stay in business, moving forward to the, to those marks, you have to know your numbers.
Okay, that's a very good tip. Yeah. So 500K to $1 million, knowing your numbers.
I think you can get to 500,000 by just kicking the ball down the road, not knowing anything, honestly. So, but from that point to get to $1 million, that's another point, and then getting from $1 million to 2 million, you got to change things a little bit, from knowing your numbers to really building systems, knowing what you're good at, being able to put things on repeat and repeat your successes and stay away from your failures, or learn from those lessons and don't go back to just winging it.
Have a strong mental SOP in order.
Yep. So let's talk about that. So what are the systems that you've put in place, say from 1 million to 2 million plus? What does that look like?
organization's a big deal because, one thing you can't get back is time. So if you can do things more systematically, faster, and repeatable, then, there's your more room to make more revenue, and then also too, your team is huge on it too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't keep people around that, aren't worth having around or don't share your same core values that your company has. Just like, this is your company. Like, you're driving this thing. You don't have to, pick up hitchhikers going down the road or whatever. If they don't follow your values, then you're not gonna be able to change them. It's either they care or they don't care, and you can't change that, no matter if you're paying more money or not. So you need to try to find people that, that are on board with you and can get behind you and, put wind in your sails.
Mm-hmm. What do you say to the contractor business owner that says, oh, there's just no good help in my area?
Well, I think we're going through, it's kind of weird. I think people talk about it, millennials and Gen Xers, and now, whatever Gen Zs are coming out.
The tablet generation.
Yeah. I think there was, really a cultural thing that happened, but there's still people, out there that are willing to work, that are willing to care, especially if you put the time into them. I think you can hire more by character than, experience, because, you can train somebody if they have the proper, character or qualities, and just kind of, find out if those people have those or not is kind of the thing.
Yeah.
But I do think it is, maybe, I don't know. I wasn't a business owner back then, but it could be harder now to find good help than it was. But you don't know who's good or not unless you have those conversations. Continue looking for people, and don't stop looking for people. Mm-hmm. And when you find someone that's worth keeping, don't hesitate to pay them.
Yeah. So hire based on character, teach the skill.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're humans. We can. Mama said we can do anything. So if you have the right mindset and the right character, you can be taught.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. What about are you implementing EOS or anything like that?
What do you mean?
The management style, it's pretty popular, like entrepreneurial operating system. No,
not specifically. I guess maybe what you're talking about there, but
yeah.
We kind of have our our core values for our company, and everyone kind of understands kind of what they are, and you can find out pretty shortly if they're going to be a good fit or not, and if they're not, then they need to go.
Yeah. What are some must-go-to trade shows for you guys or conventions?
We've just been doing some like little local things around here. Honestly, as a I guess as a team or even personally, we haven't really been to any big conventions, or per se, trade shows. Like, we're in tune with. We talk to our local suppliers and our our sellers and salesmen to find out like what's coming down the pipeline with new products and stuff, and we'll go to the salesman and kind of have talks about how to get trained up in new products or new tools and stuff like that here, like locally, as opposed to maybe going out to the big hardscaping show that just happened here in Kentucky. We didn't go to that. I know a lot of people do go to that. We haven't been to any of those per se.
There's so many locals that are very much so call 828. If the number's not 828, then don't call it, and that's all local numbers that are around here is the 828 area code. So it's they stick pretty tight to that. So it's nice to be a sense of that community and blend in with everybody else that needs those kinds of services around here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Can you walk through kind of your sales process a little bit? Say on the residential side, customer calls in, or how are they finding you, and then just through to becoming a customer, what that looks like?
Yeah. So customer calls us, or sends an email submission through our website. We get on a phone call with them. We'll always ask them to send some pictures of the project and their address, because before we run straight out there to go see them, maybe like in the old Angie List days, we want to have a conversation about them and talk to them about their project, and their expectations that they have. Having pictures and their address, we can look up on Google Earth, look at their pictures. We've been doing this for, so many years now. We can kind of hopefully give them a ballpark number over the phone, like a bracket of what the project might cost, and kind of get their feel on, if they're just, shopping around, if they're willing to, to work with us, if the price does fall within that range, and if they are okay with that, depending on how the call goes, we might charge a consultation, we might not. But we kind of call that the BS meter. If we do think they're, kind of not serious or not, we might, throw a consultation fee at them to see if they're serious about us coming out there working with them. But after that initial phone call, then, then we would set up a time to go meet them, as long as we can help them with what they want and they're okay with that ballpark price.
And having social media helps with that process a lot, because we could say, hey, not only can you take inspiration from the internet of what you've seen in your personal life, but you can also check out our social medias and see if you like anything. You could straight say, hey, I want that in my yard, and it helps us a lot more plan your property properly.
That's good. So you're using your social media as kind of like a resume to show them the previous work.
Yeah,
of course.
So another thing too, like, if they send us a picture of their property or their project area, we can kind of send them pictures of projects that are similar to, to their property or their wants. So, we can have a good, constructive call, instead of just running out there and, we might even be the wrong fit.
Well, and is that a little strategic too, to get them more bought in? Like they're doing homework, or?
Yeah, kind of like assignment selling almost. It's like, hey, okay, you call me, you want to talk to me? Now you got to send me some pictures.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so that sounds really solid. All right, so you do give them a ballpark. Do you guys even post pricing on the website? That's a new popular thing, is kind of giving them a quote tool, or just flat out putting pricing on your site. Do you do any of that?
We don't have it on the Rosebrook site, but we do have pricing on our pond website.
Okay.
Because pond's more above ground, like I said earlier. Everything's 2D on paper. With land clearing and grading and septic systems, you don't really know what you're going to run into. There's several variables, so that's a little harder on that aspect. But Morganton Ponds, it is a little more straightforward. This is the pond package that we provide. Would you like it?
And then, the hardscape and ponds are more of like a luxury item. So, I think it's a little, it's easier to put those prices out front, because no one has to have a pond, but this is where our pricing starts, and it can go all the way up to, 6 figures, depending on the package you pick.
So, because a lot of guys will just, what's your address? And they'll actually just go out there. You guys are more strategic, throw a ballpark intentionally, and then there's even a BS meter in there to do a consultation fee if needed.
Yeah.
So then you go out there, you do your site visit, then what happens?
Then we'll go over the project, make sure what they said is, actually what they want and what it seems like in person, so we can, detect if it still falls within that price range or not. If it's not, then we automatically call it timeout and be like, hey, during the phone call, we didn't talk about this, or you didn't mention that, or, this looked different in the picture, or, this might be an issue over here. And we can say, this is going to be, higher than that bracket, and then we'll have to just have a little conversation there about that. But I always like to kind of give them like a price there on site before I leave.
And is that like an actual concrete quote at that point, or still a rough estimate?
No, probably about 90% of the time it's a concrete quote at that time.
And that's using the job tread software?
Yeah.
So you're able to put that out remote in the location set up. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, if I could do that right on the spot too, and if they have house plans, we can download it right into job tread. There's even a takeoff tool in job tread. If put a set of plans in there too, and you can do all takeoffs in there, and everything is in there for the project manager or the foreman to see and have always in his hand. Whether it be a septic permit, a set of house plans, the property survey, the original contract. It's all there at your fingertips.
Is there any when you're out there also determining like a right fit, that you're just kind of seeing, well, is this the kind of customer that's going to be very controlling, or I don't think I'm going to be able to please them? Does that ever happen where it's even a thing that you're conscious of? Or
It is. We haven't had many clients like that, but we've had, and we will always remember them. You know? So always trying to, kind of feel that out at the beginning, but going into a relationship with a client is kind of like dating, everything is so good at the beginning. And then once you start spending time with each other and stuff like that, and then, sometimes the real them comes out, and you just got to roll with it and just do what you said you were going to do. That's why you just got to always rely back on at the beginning of the project on setting the expectations and then executing on them, because it's in paper. I came here to do this, not to do that, or deal with your emotions.
If you're cranky or happy or anywhere in between, there's only so much you can punish somebody that's coming to you with a service that's treating you excellent with great customer service. So it's like they kind of feed off of your energy. So if you match them when they're angry, it's not going to be good for anybody. It's going to waste both of your time, and you're probably not going to get the project. You're going to talk yourself right out the door. But if you come at them and say, listen, this is what we're providing, how would you like to come at us about it? Full transparency both ways. It kind of works itself out, and they usually...
On that point, I don't want to go too far down that road, but let's say that for whatever reason, it's just, a heated situation. It's inevitable, right? It's going to come up with some clients, no matter how great the business is. So heated client, what is it they call let them rant, or is it more of a structured process of, let's get a list of bullet points first, and then we're going to talk about it? Can you kind of walk us through what would we call this? The putting out the fire?
Yeah.
Okay.
SOP?
Yeah. Putting out the fire SOP.
Don't stoke the flame.
Yeah. I guess one part of that is we call it STFU. In our world is just shut the F up and let them talk, let them do the thing. Because sometimes when customers, people go on rants, like they'll either get out of gas or realize what they're talking about, they're blowing it out of proportion, or maybe even answer some of their own questions. Or if a client's like, while you're here, can you guys, do this, this, and this? And then, it's almost like we always try to put it like back in their quarters, like, how do you expect us to do that? How do you want us to do that? Or, and then just kind of let them answer that question. It's like I've had 6 guys out there, for a day longer than was already supposed to try to help you out. How am I supposed to just continue doing these demands that you ask of us? Because, it happens a lot. Well, it used to happen more often than now, but where clients would just, while you're here, can you just move that tree out of the way? Or while you're here, can you just, put that rock that over here, and it's like, you got to call it quits at some point.
And to them, it's no big deal. It's just a rock. It's just a tree.
Right. It's just 2 hours, of 3 guys there, and $100,000 piece of equipment. That's it.
Okay. All right. So you go through the sales process. They get the quote, and they say yes. How do you guys do your payment structure? Is there deposits, or is it all at the end?
Oh, heck no. No way. No way.
He said, "Heck no." No. I can't tell you how many contractors I talked to.
No. Don't do that. So it used to be at the beginning, when I used to do it was like 50% down, 50% at the end, and then as your projects get larger and larger and larger, 50% is a big number. When you're doing $200,000 project, keep it $100,000 to the end when all the bitching happens, we don't want that. So our payment is done like this for the most part. Larger projects, it might be broken down into more milestones. But no matter what project it is, we get 30% down. The day we show up on site, we get another 30%. And then when all the materials are delivered or there's substantial completion, we get another 30%. So that means there's only 10% due at the final walkthrough. So we never leave more than 10% done on the final walkthrough. If we're doing like a larger, land development project, we might have X amount of 30% deposit, then we might have, 20% after the clearing is done. Then we might have another 10% after the gravel driveway is laid down. Another 20% after, the septic is installed. Then maybe another 5% when the sewers ran, 5% when the water lines run. But just to structure it where we don't have a ton of money at the end laying out there.
Okay.
Because we shoot for a 50% gross profit on residential projects. So, if push comes to shove and that 10% is, for some reason we can't get it, or it's not worth having, or, that battle might cause a bad review or something, as long as we did our job, we're still making 40%, on that project. Mm-hmm. So, but we never leave a lot of money at the end.
That sounds great. That's a really good pricing strategy. What about the approach? Is it more of a soft, here's your quote, we'll call you in a week, call us if you have any questions, or is it some incentive to get the sale now? Can you kind of walk through that a little bit?
I don't consider myself a very salesy or pushy guy on the situation. You called me because you needed a service, or you consider us the experts on what you're trying to do here. So whether it's a verbal price, we give it to them. Okay, hey, Mrs. Jones, we've done this projects in the past. Other clients have invested $100,000 in a project like this.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just shut up, and then kind of wait for them to process it, take it in. Or if we're on site, then we'll write the quote up. We'll give it to them. Or sometimes, what I'll even do is, so I don't have to write everything up sometimes too, I'll have my phone out and I'll have my calculator out, and I'll just be like, okay, this is what it's going to be. Let them look at it, read it, and don't say a word. I've been in situations where there was probably 5 minutes of just silence, and I will not break the silence. They need to just tell me whether yes, no, maybe, whatever. But let them do their processing, because you don't want to talk them into it, talk them out of it, so just that's my recommendation.
It's all about your cadence and how you carry yourself in the rhythm of the conversation. If you're like, here's your number, and you shy away, and you could tell that with somebody's tone, oh, it's this.
Well, or you keep talking, that's a very, very big tip that...
Don't justify your price.
Yeah, the power of silence, to just shut up and wait. And you're right, there can be that awkward moment for 5 minutes. It's super awkward.
You check, see if they're still on the phone.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, so a lot of the sales are not done in person. It's actually over the phone when you do this.
Well, that's some our initial call, our ballpark.
Okay, the ballpark. Yeah.
So even with that, give the price, be quiet. 'Cause who knows what they're thinking? They could be thinking, oh wow, that's less than I thought, or oh damn, that's more than I thought. How am I going to get that money? This and that, blah blah blah. Let them work that out in their own head, because if they want it, they'll find a way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys use financing too, third party?
At the bottom of every estimate that we send out, there's a link for financing, and it's third party.
Has it helped?
A lot of people haven't used it, honestly, but we've had someone use, I think, 2 times in the past 3 years.
Okay. So a nice to have, but not a major driver when it comes to sales then.
Right.
Unless they don't know about it. Maybe they don't see it on the bottom.
Well, they have to see it, because it goes through the estimate, then it says, would you like financing? Click this button here,
okay.
Then it says, approve your estimate, then click and approve it right there online.
Very cool. All right. Well, I think we've covered pretty much everything. What else would you want to share about your business?
It's been a good few years, but it's hard. Like I said, if you're gonna have your own business, it takes a lot of time, a lot of grit. You got to surround yourself, with the right people. There's a lot of hard conversations that you just can't brush off. You need to take care of that stuff as soon as possible. Don't F with the money. If you're owed money, go get it. And then, know your numbers. However you need to, which way you need to figure that out. Know what your monthly expenses are. There is an exact number, you should know it. And then you can take that number and, multiply it times 12. So then you have your yearly expenses. And don't get confused too with your overhead, and your guys' salaries. If you have hourly employees, that is not part of your overhead. Your bills that get paid every month, no matter whether you work or not, that's part of your overhead. Your guy's salary should always just be part of your cost of goods sold. Because I think a lot of people make that mistake too. I know I did in the beginning. What your overhead is, and then, finding out what it costs to run your business every single day. Knowing what you need to charge to cover that, that daily, that a daily occurrence.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not 365 days in a work year either. It's about
Right.
270. So
Now, to know your numbers, are you keeping like spreadsheets in Excel, or is this something more like the software JobTread, or how do you track those things?
yeah, JobTread helps us with job costing, tells us, what our goal gross profit percentage is, and then at the end of the job, it'll tell us what we actually made. And it'll be broken down by line item, from our estimate on what made money, what lost money, maybe what we could have done better. But our overhead sheet, it's in a spreadsheet. It's updated every time we, add an expense or take something off of there. But that's how we keep track of it.
And not being fully knowledgeable on the product and service that you're trying to provide isn't a good look. So you always be learning. Never get too comfortable, because there's always something to learn. There's a new product that comes out every month. There's a new tool that comes out every month. Always know your environment.
Yeah.
Well, I think an important thing too, since I've been doing this, is like, you're excited, you're hungry, you want to make money, but there's also a lot of power in saying no to somebody. Because you can't be good or efficient at absolutely everything, so you need to pick something that if you don't know how to do something, or if it's not profitable for you, like, you can't please everybody. Not everyone's going to be your client, so just do what you're good at and do what you're comfortable with, because you can get in trouble pretty quick that way.
Yeah.
So I've been there.
Maybe one more fun question. What's the craziest thing that's happened to you over the years that really stands out? Some sort of a crazy story about your business.
At the beginning of our business, well, I guess maybe what really maybe pushed me into, my business or whatever, was I used to work for a big site development company building highways, and then I was doing like little side work on the side, doing this. But I was a superintendent and I had a bunch of guys underneath me where I was, and actually those guys quit and started work for me doing storm cleanup in Alabama. And then I went down there for a few days to try to help them out, and my boss is like, where are you? Your crew's over here messing up. So they actually let me go. So I was like, what? Because now I'm all full in here now. But trying to do too much at one time, like, you really need to make that decision whether you're all in or not, because you can't be 50%. You got to be 100%, especially when you start.
Yeah.
But yeah, just keep your nose down and move forward.
That's why they sell gallons of milk, not 5 gallons.
Yeah.
You got to know your boundaries.
That's good. All right. Well, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Scott. It was awesome to have you.
Awesome talking with you. Why don't we stay tuned? We'll do a little bonus session for you to show everyone around the showroom.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Well, everyone tuning in to the podcast, thank you so much. And be sure to check us out on YouTube, and you'll see the bonus footage of Jack and Zach's new showroom. All right. Take care. Have a great day. Bye.
Hey there, excavation pros. If you enjoyed today's podcast, make sure to like and subscribe to our podcast and channel. Leave us your feedback and let us know how we did. And hey, if you're interested in taking your excavation or septic business to the next level online, make sure you visit excavationmarketingpros.com today and take advantage of our free resources and mastermind group for excavation and septic industry professionals.